pre-diagnosis, my younger childhood, I think my parents would describe me as introverted and quiet and overly sensitive. And then my teenage years hit, probably around 11 or 12, and I changed. I changed into defiant and dark and felt like I didn't belong or could relate to anybody my age, and I felt destructive. I would self-harm, I would steal, I would want to be out and stay out, didn't want to come home. I was pretty wayward and nobody really knew why, and my parents and my brother treated me very much like I was an outsider without really looking for much help or answers to some of my behaviours. Once having counselling, probably in my late teens, it was discussed, depression, anxiety, with no real answers. I had many counsellors, psychotherapists, psychiatrists, and med changes. I would say I used alcohol as a crutch for a lot of my feelings and emotions, and I couldn't really apply myself where everyone else was applying themselves to move on in life. And then when the diagnosis came, I saw a psychiatrist and had a lengthy talk and wrote down a lot of my behaviours. It became very clear that during my mania episodes, I would feel on top of the world and have so much energy and be my most creative, probably the better part of me, but that would always spiral to no sleep and destructive behaviour and lead to a very deep depression. So I sort of yo-yoed in depression and mania until I was diagnosed and prescribed bipolar medication and anti-anxiety medication. I've been on a sleeping tablet for so long that I can't naturally sleep, so my body and my brain are used to sedative drugs to help me sleep. How others and family think of me with bipolar. I mean, give you an example. When I was pregnant with my first child, there was a few family members that actually thought that I wouldn't be able to cope and maybe the child would be taken, and such extreme thoughts. And to really, that was the turning point for me in my life, was having children. It actually helped balance my mental health. So luckily I've proved everyone wrong that I can do these things and live with a serious mental health condition but still function adequately. Being treated differently with this diagnosis, I feel it comes more heavily from the NHS within the medical field. I cannot go to a GP appointment without the opening line on their interpretation of an appointment with Rachel has severe mental health illnesses. Before I even open my mouth to say I have a pain in my toe or a migraine, they will instantly look at my mental health before any other diagnosis, and that is a minefield all on its own. That is very hard work, because they're assessing how I am talking, how I look, and not always listening to what I'm saying. And I find that hard, very hard, as I have other chronic illnesses alongside bipolar. Having some clarity from a diagnosis has helped. It helped me explain to my family that I just wasn't naughty. Also, the sort of naughty person in the family family, the black sheep, I always felt. But with that diagnosis, it still brought doubt from family members, and that's a struggle. That why do I have to be so different? There has been mental health conditions on both sides of my parents' family, and my dad, I believe, also was mentioned that possible bipolar there many years ago. And I had heard of bipolar because my dad being in the mental health system, and then started to work for a mental health team in Launceston as a counsellor. He met a woman who was also bipolar, a lovely woman called Sue, and I spent a lot of time around her, and she lived with bipolar 1, I have bipolar 2, which was very hard for her. So I witnessed a lot of her behaviours and saw a lot of my own behaviours in her. So yeah, clarity maybe from a diagnosis, but not always be accepted by family.